Hey guys, I am John Carrick, and today we are looking at Rocket Girl number 10 by Image Comics, written by Brandon Montclair, drawn, inked, and colored by Amy Reeder. This 10-issue series took 5 years for them to put out, while they were also doing a series for Marvel called Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And I love the art. And we'll talk about what happens in the story and why story is important in comics. So let's go. First thing I need to do with this splash page is correct a mistake from yesterday, a mistake I seem to be doing over and over and over again. I really love these fisheye curved focal, I think you call it focal depth. When you sort of like see how foreshortened the foot is and how far back Dae-young is on the bench there. And I love Amy's lights, you know, the way she does traffic and whatnot. The way you used to get blurs on old VHS footage in the early 80s when they had those first VHS tapes. And I love this art. The story is what it is. This is Dae-young back in 1986. In New York City. Amy lives in Greenwich Village, so she has a lot to draw from. I live out in Los Angeles. I love making Los Angeles the backdrop for my stories. I do the exact same thing. There's a lot about this that is just magnificent. So let's focus on that. Only the good. I really get that Amy loves drawing Dae-young. You can't draw this character and not love drawing her. It's impossible. It's impossible. This is what artists live for, you know? So here Annie is across the street in a phone booth. She runs across, gets honked at by traffic, almost trips on the curb. It looks like this truck hits her, but it doesn't because it would have killed her. And she and Dae-young share a little brief exposition. And Dae-young then proceeds to do her gymnastics routine in a Frogger bit across traffic into the same telephone booth where she does a Superman. I know I'm not leaving this art on the screen long enough. Where she does a Superman bit and transforms into Rocket Girl. I'm going to back up a little bit here too. Hope I'm showing the whole screen. Apologies. And she's going to give Annie a ride. Also, I want to point out, I took close note of this hand on Annie's shoulder. That's Dae-young's hand. I really like the way that hand is drawn. I've been drawing those hands for my skaters, the way they hold skateboards or the way they, you know, stand around waiting for another guy to finish their line. And I love that. I love the way she draws Annie's movements. She really has Annie's motion down. Like, she could animate this character. And this character moves incredibly different from Dae-young. All of Amy's characters move differently, and they are all always in motion. I don't know where Amy went to art school. I don't know if her dad taught her, if her mom taught her, or if she's been taking art classes since she was 3 and determined to do this. This is some of the best art I've ever seen in my life. It really is. No cross-hatching, pure anime. Look at this, the gymnastics movement of Dae-young's character. Look at how she's diving into this phone booth. Here we are, 2013, the future past, and the big bad guys are about to reveal themselves. And if you haven't figured it out by now, this is Big Bang Theory, and these nerds have a time machine. And Annie is one of, I've never watched Big Bang Theory. I know they have that character Sheldon, and they have a nerdy white guy who's short, and they have a really pretty blonde girl who behaves like she's a man. I think her name is Kaylee Kuko. This girl's name is Tasha. She steps up and knocks out Jean. That is obviously Jean. Chaz is also there, as well as Annie and Ryder. But before we see that, we have to cut back to the past, where Dae-young drops Annie on these two police who are standing watch outside the quantum mechanics lab. This art is incredible. I don't feel like I need to keep talking over it either. I really like this texture that Amy puts on the whump here. I don't think I've seen any zip tones anywhere else in this book. I think that's the first time I've seen them. And they might be digital, might be real. I don't know. I love Dae-young's face. Amy wants to take all the floppies, and Dae-young says, no, we have to destroy them. They're going to log in with Amy's passcode and erase everything. I love the traditional panels and panel borders. Even though it's an asymmetrical panel, this is still, I like the traditional stuff. I really like this where she's in the background. This page, this second page here is really a masterpiece. Dae-young's expressions. Also, someone comes in and interrupts them. Remember, this is the last issue. They have to wrap this up. We're not any closer to establishing a goal, let alone to achieving one. Here we get future Annie, future Ryder, future Chaz, future Jean. They are quantum mechanics. They established the teen police force. Specifically, Annie says that she did. She is the boss. She is the boss babe. That's what this book is about. And it's really kind of unfortunate. What this book ends up being is a character study instead of people pursuing goals and growing when they either achieve or don't achieve those goals. The consequences of their actions. It's really a shame. No one grows in this series. No one learns anything. There are some surprises, but this wasn't structured. This wasn't structured the way an epic adventure should be structured. This is structured. Well, look, I'm tired of talking about it. The Q on the tie. I don't know if Amy Reader's ever tied a necktie, but that's really kind of impossible. It's cute, but impossible. More exposition. Jean has this bozo hairstyle. None of this means anything because of this. It's not McDonald's land. It's not McDonald land. So this is Officer Dunn, who comes in and shoots Dae-young. This was the only thing they could do. They'd spent 9 issues not telling a story. Personally, I blame Image Comics for this. I blame whoever was the Image Comics editor. Now, we're about to find out that Brendan Montclair is an assistant editor at DC Comics. At least he was. He worked with Frank Quietly on All-Star Superman. At least that's what I think I read at the end of this. This is Dae-Young dying. This is the consequences of Annie being a brash, obnoxious person. I really love the green highlight right here on the skin. The green highlights are really well done. Skin tones are not easy. Amy Reeder is an incredible artist. And that's it. Dae-Young Johansson dies. And that's the end of the book. Now we get this, followed by this. This is an apology and an explanation. And I think what I'm going to do for you guys is freeze the image right here, just as it is. And I'm going to pick this up and read it to you. First, from the artist. Yeah, that was rough. Let me start over. Yeah, that was rough. Probably for you as readers, but for me too. I drew the end playing a bittersweet song on loop, Coming Home by Royksop, if you're curious, and was completely wrapped up in the entire experience. It made me feel guilty as Dae-Young's mom, as some of my friends had been calling me, and sad for every character involved. But I also felt very inspired, so I hope it was as beautiful as it was heartbreaking. Brandon and I spent a lot of consideration trying to figure out the best way to end this storyline, and I was glad for the opportunity to draw something so meaningful. In fact, this entire series so far has been extremely rewarding for me. It's given me a chance to show all of you and myself what I'm actually capable of. With fewer cooks and more say, I was able to draw, color, letter, and design each of the books, even up to the logo. I was also able to do all of that the way I wanted to, with no one to answer to except myself, Brandon, and you as fans. And all of us just wanted a great read. And I am proud of every Rocket Girl page I've drawn. I'm proud that I can say that. I'm proud that I can say that. It is my best work to date. I have you to thank for that. Thanks for believing in me and in us. We take it seriously, and we make it our responsibility to take your expectations and push further than you thought possible. It's the ultimate collaboration. Amy. So right there, she says, this is important. Brandon and I spent a lot of consideration trying to figure out the best way to end this storyline. And I'm glad for the opportunity to draw something so meaningful. Now let's read what Brandon had to say. Again, I don't know how much collaboration there was between them. For some reason, I don't think he was sitting next to her while she drew. This work takes way too much effort, time. I think it's none of my business. But let's read what Brandon said. I'm of two minds. The issue of Rocket Girl you have in your hands wraps up the story Amy and I always wanted to tell. It took a very long time for this book to gel. Dae-Young Johansson came fast, but I didn't know exactly what to do with her at first. But when the plan for the opening adventure came together, I knew we had a great comic coming, and here it is. It's even better than I thought it would be, thanks to all the readers who joined the thrill ride. It took us longer than expected to get here. Years before we even started, it was my first day as an assistant editor at DC Comics. I called Frank quietly to introduce myself. We'd be working on All-Star Superman over the next 3 years. He made a curious admission. Once a book is done, no one remembers how long it took to make. I admit I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to use it. So, Rocket Girl done? Nah, but it is for now. While the wheels are turning and there's new stories to be told, numbers 1 through 10 is something of which I'm very proud. While you're waiting for one day's number 11, give these first 10 a reread. It gets better and better, if I do say so myself. Rocket Girl will come back, because that's what she does. Brandon. So I'm going to set this back out here. Let's see what's on the next page. These are Amy's pictures of New York. I really loved the subway. It was so good. And this is a great image. I think I might use that for the cover, for the thumbnail for this episode. So that's it. That's it for Rocket Girl. I've beat the hell out of these comics. All right, let's do the next bit. Hey guys, so we were looking at Rocket Girl number 10. And you know, when artwork is this good, she really has accomplished something here. Amy has with her art style, with the work itself. She is now being paid to contribute to the betterment of the world. And that, I think, is the ideal goal for all artists. Producing work like this makes the world a better place. It makes the world a more beautiful place. And if you're able to get paid for that, that's fantastic. That's great. Now, I know it took them 5 years to do 10 issues. They probably didn't make a ton of money, but they now have a new comic book that is a cartoon. I don't know how happy they are about that. I hope they feel incredibly fulfilled and that they're being compensated far beyond their greatest expectations and that everything is beautiful and everything is coming up roses for them. I hope they don't feel like they're being taken advantage of. Today's episode is brought to you by Legacy of a Mad Scientist and the Legend of Ashley Fox, my personal science fiction fantasy novels featuring Ashley Fox, a ballerina who goes on to become a kung fu legend in the future, kind of parallel to Dae Young. We even have a comic book out here in the description, Ashley Fox Ninja Babysitter number 6, The Last Valkyrie, issues 1 through 5 having not been drawn yet. But you can check out the last issue in this 6-issue limited series. It's up here in the description as a black and white PDF. We are working on colors. You can see a lot of the colored artwork by sticking around to the end of this episode and listening to the audiobooks for Legacy of a Mad Scientist and Legend of Ashley Fox. The links will pop up, and each of those hour-long audiobook chapters features a bunch of art, colored art from the comic. So we also have Conflicted Deck 3, the Queen of Clubs. In this one, Gordon and his wife Samantha have a young son, and they were recently attacked by looters. It doesn't say how much was stolen from them or how violent the looters were. They just got into it with some people who wanted to steal their supplies. And they have a son. They didn't name the son, but they do have a son. And Samantha does not want him to know how to use a firearm. She thinks he's too young. And Gordon is conflicted about it. He wants to teach his son how to use a firearm. He feels that it's necessary. How young is too young is the question for this. Depends on the firearm. 22 is basically an elaborate BB gun. So it depends on the kid too. Not all kids are the same. And children have their own personalities. They're not always a perfect replica of you as an adult. Anyhow, today's Fantasy World Tarot card is the Minotaur. This is a pretty amazing card. This art is not, this is not a comic book level artist, but it's good for what it is, so it's worth checking out. Anyhow, what do I have to talk about in the current... Oh, I think I was going to talk about this right at the beginning. I hope I mentioned this right at the beginning of the comic book. In Rocket Girl, yesterday, I said that Scott McCloud did this in Nightwing, but Scott McDaniel is the guy that I loved doing this in Nightwing. He worked with the focal lengths of the camera. I get those two confused all the time. Scott McCloud is the Understanding Comics guy. Scott McDaniel is the artist on Nightwing, and J. Scott Campbell is the artist of Danger Girl. They're all very different. So that was yesterday's mistake. I don't think anyone's watched that episode except me, so it's fine. Current events. There's a lot of drama going on. And I'm doing my best to keep my mouth shut. It's taking an awful lot of work from me recently. I'm trying not to engage in the bait, in the rage bait. That's what I've started calling it, rage bait. So, I don't know how well I'm doing, but I'm trying. And otherwise, got some drawing done today. It's really frustrating for the first time in my life now that this eye is pretty much completely useless. My hand-eye coordination has improved. I'm able to connect two lines together, and I was never able to do that in the past. And this is the smallest brush size I can get in Photoshop on a 600 DPI 10 by 15 inch image. I'm able to connect the edges of a circle. I was never able to do that before. It sucks. It really sucks. I did get a really good chapter done last night, so I'm happy about that. See you guys tomorrow.